Good evening. The City Commission meeting for January 17th, 2023 is now called to order. At this time, Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Villa Vasquez.
Present.
Commissioner Burbank.
Present.
Commissioner Caldwell.
Here.
Commissioner Jody Lee.
Here.
Commissioner McCool. Here. Vice Mayor Bradford.
Here.
Mayor Villa.
Here. This time, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Commissioner Stephen Caldwell for the invocation of the Pledge of the Flag.
Nick, please, could you come up for the invocation, please?
Would you bow your heads with me, please? If we're waiting for the microphone to come on. But I can do it without the microphone, so it'll be fun. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this day that you've given us. The privilege to be in this building here tonight, Lord God, amongst family and friends and city employees, as well as our city commission and all of our residents, whether here or online. We thank you, Father God, that we have the privilege to come here and invoke your presence here tonight, Lord God. By the power of your Holy Spirit, we just ask you, Father God, to bring everything here neat and in order, so that, Father God, that things are discussed, yet discussed with honor and discussed with humility and with great wisdom to make good decisions, Father God, for the people of Deltona, for our communities, and even for our surrounding communities. Father, we have a place in this community. We have a place in Volusia County. We need to be leaders and do it in a good way. Lord, we need your help to make that happen. So we invite you right now in this very place to bring peace among all that take place here tonight, and that we might discuss and do things at the way that would be honorable to you. Lord, we do this all praising you and giving you thanks in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this moment, we're going to go ahead to public forum.
Rafael Ramirez, please. And then Kathy Bryan.
To Mr. Shesham and all the staff. I'm here today for two reasons. I'm honored to represent Halifax Health, UF Health Medical Center of Deltona in celebrating Halifax's 95th year of existence. We're proud. We are looking back and see what kind of timeline we can create to show everything we've done over the years. So, second, I want to invite the Commission and everyone in Deltona to a health fair we're going to have at the hospital on February 11th between 9 and 11 o'clock. It's an opportunity. It's a free event to the public, to everybody. We'll have food and refreshments, but the most important thing is that our residents can see face-to-face without a charge. A lot of the specialty doctors that will be present, primary care, orthopedic surgeons, vascular surgeons, radiologists, general surgeons, bariatrics, rehab, oncology, and many others that will be there welcoming everybody to the event. This is the second one we have held, and we're certainly looking for a lot of we'd love to see a lot of people. It's going to be in the lobby of the hospital. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Ramirez.
Yeah, I left some invitations with Joyce for everybody. Thank you.
Kathy Bryan, please.
First and foremost, I'm glad at least we got through the pledge and the invocation and roll call tonight before we had public forum. Last meeting, we went right to public forum. We need to reach a happy medium. I sent an email to every one of you. I got 2 replies on my email that had nothing to do with the time that public forum was, and one that said they would ask the city manager, and I don't know what that was. I'm not exactly sure which thing I said in my email that was. But here's the deal. There's no reason to not have your special awards and presentations before you have public forum. You know these people aren't going to stay. They come with their kids, and then they're going to go. I agree we don't need a public forum at the end of the night. I've said that before. But let's pull it down on the agenda a little bit. Not everybody can make it by 6:30. I'm one of those people, like I said in my email. Sometimes I get tied up at work at home or at work, and I can't get here on time, and then I miss it. Somebody did the last meeting, so that's number one. Number two, we have a moratorium in place to help us update our land code. Has anything been done with that yet? Planning and zoning, anything? I know we had the guy here to look into it. Have we gotten any feedback from that yet? Because March 31st is coming up here in a blink. And we've got all these, areas that people want to develop. And now is our time to be a smart city. Now is our time to make sure we're building smart. There's no reason for everybody to have all these developments to have with these gated communities to have St. Augustine grass that uses up so much water. There's no reason to not learn about a lot of the natives that we have that are designed to grow in this area that are very low maintenance. It's time. What are we going to do? Because I'm not here, so I would really appreciate some feedback on that. And lastly, I don't know if the young lady was going to come in tonight, but the Deltona Community Gardens are, they're looking to have like a little bit more in the way of events and education for the public. Get kids involved in planting seeds and stuff like that. And so I think the question was because it's Deltona Community Gardens and it may not be city sponsored, what can we do to advertise through the city? Because advertising anything and getting the word out in Deltona is a big pain in the butt. So those are my questions, and I look forward to your answers. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bryant.
Lisa Hare.
Good evening, everyone. I'm from the Deltona United Church of Christ, and also the Nitty Gritty True Talk Ministry, and I had just did a food drive, and I want to thank everyone that came and helped, and the deputies that was there. They helped set up, they helped tear down, and it just turned out to be a real good success. We fed over 400 families, so I want to thank everyone for participating.
That ends public comments.
Thank you. At this time, we're going to go to the approval of the minutes and agenda. Approval of the minutes of the special commission meeting of December 21st, 2022, and the regular commission meeting of January 3rd, 2023, as presented.
So moved.
So moved by Vice Mayor Bradford. Seconded by Commissioner Jody Lee. Clerk, can we please vote? Motion passes 6-1. All right. Vice Mayor Bradford, you're on the board to speak. No, I was going to make a motion. Oh, got it. This time we're going to go to presentations and awards rewards. We don't have any right now. Let's go to ordinances and public hearing. This is a quasi-judicial public hearing, ordinance number 24-2022, amendment to official zoning map to rezone approximately 34.83 acres of land from the business planned unit development and retail commercial district C1 to City of Deltona residential planned unit development at second and final hearing. Mr. Paradise and Marcia, do you mind swearing them in?
Mr. Mayor, if you permit,
Sure.
I'll just give us a short introduction.
Okay.
And then we'll get into the quasi-judicial matters that include swearing in, standing, and ex parte disclosure. Ordinance number 24-22 is a request to rezone 34.83 acres of land from business plan unit development to residential plan unit development. And this is the second hearing of this. This was heard on December 12th of last year. It was approved on first reading. This 34.83 acres is located approximately at the the southwestern intersection of Catalina Boulevard and Howland Boulevard. With that, we will get into the ex parte, the quasi-judicial procedures.
Are the people in the audience that have standing from the city? Do we have anybody in the audience? Okay, beyond that, do we have anybody who's going to speak? Glenn, do you have some experts or?
Yes, we have some experts that may speak this way.
Okay. Anybody else who wants to speak on this item, if you would please stand and raise your right hand. Is that everybody? All right. Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth this evening to the city commission, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. All right. Now, Mr. Mayor, if you will poll your commission and ask if anyone has had any ex parte communications in this matter. And just also a reminder, when we get to the end and you all are ready to vote, make sure you tie your vote to some particular part of the comprehensive plan that you feel defends your position. Okay?
Thank you, Ms. Siegel. We'll start with Commissioner Burbank.
Nothing.
Commissioner McCool.
Yes, I spoke to the attorney of record for the developer today, but other than that, no other ex parte communication since the last time.
Commissioner Caldwell.
I also have spoken to the attorney.
It's right there.
And visited the site. Other than that, that's it.
Commissioner Jody Lee.
Yeah, I've spoke to the attorney in record. I've also visited the site several times and walked the property.
Commissioner Avila Vasquez.
No ex parte.
Vice Mayor Bradford.
No new ex parte.
And I only spoke to the attorney at record.
Okay, we ready to continue? All right. Since the first meeting, staff and the applicant have revised the written development agreement, which is kind of the contract for this residential plan unit development rezoning. You know, we indicated at the meeting on the 12th that was going to occur. The latest development agreement has been provided to you all tonight. I apologize for taking so long. Sometimes these things, you know, happen through evolution, not revolution. And also you have the most up-to-date master development plan, which is kind of a conceptual site plan for the project. You also have some elevations of the structures that are going to propose to be built on the property. I will go through some of the salient points associated with the most up-to-date development agreement. One is to facilitate sign and entryway monumentation to be reviewed as part of a site plan for the project. Also clarify buffers along the access from Dr. Martin Luther King abutting the existing residential area. Okay, further, more detail along those lines was there's an easement extending from Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard through the Storaway property into the Catalina Point property. The buffer along the easement area will vary from the residential area to the south. And it will vary in width, but it will be no less than 10 feet and will consist of native vegetation. It's pretty densely forested right now in the field. Continuing along with the Dr. Martin Luther King access on the development property or on the Catalina Point property, there will be a 10-foot landscape buffer afforded that will be located projectward of an 8-foot high masonry wall. All other buffers will be as follows. The buffer along Catalina Boulevard and Howland Boulevard would be 25 feet, and abutting all other property boundaries will be 20 feet. Okay, continuing on, there's language added with regard to the maintenance of the 8-foot-high wall. Basically, the owner-developer will be responsible for maintaining it. There's also a statement indicating that no less than 20% of the cottage units will have separate garages. Also, the changes to the DA allows the mail room or the mail kiosk to be part of the clubhouse, but cannot be counted against the minimum clubhouse size of 3,500 square feet. There's language added to make the playground at least 2,000 square feet, equipped and unequipped play area. And finally, to clarify, subdivision of the property to create a commercial outparcel will be done through the city's plat process. With that being said, city staff finds that this request is consistent with the comprehensive plan and recommends that the city commission approve this rezoning a second and final hearing. I'd be happy to field any questions you all have with regard to this project.
Start with Commissioner McCool.
Thank you. Hey, Ron, I just wanted to, and all transparency, I spoke with Glenn today about this, but I just want to make sure on your end that the transportation study that we talked about last time, my concerns last time, were validated, that had been taken care of, correct? As far as the study, as far as it being an area of great concern?
Yes, it has been studied, and there's going to be continued study in this area as we progress through the site plan and a tri-party agreement with the city and the county and the applicant to address traffic mitigation. So this is certainly not the end of an exhaustive traffic review associated with this project.
Right, and then with that also, with that traffic study, I just want to make sure that we are kept up to date if there are any caveats as far as the cost share goes, you know, with that tri-study that we're talking about, because we talked about that today, and I just want to make sure that the commission is informed about that as we move forward.
Yes, the applicant will be responsible for operational improvements, i.e. on-site improvements that involve the installation of turn lanes and the expansion of turn lanes. Mm-hmm. None of this is, based on city review, is eligible for impact fee credits or any, fair share allocation. The city's intent as part of this tri-party agreement would be to ensure that the fair share monies associated with county impact fees are invested within the city limits of the city of Deltona. Mm-hmm. And we expressed some ideas about improving the intersection of Catalina and Howland, more specifically adding some turn lanes to that intersection.
Okay. And the last thing, Ron, I wanted to make sure about the non-fee simple ownership. When we talk about that, when we talk about an amendment to there ever being an attempt to sell the units individually, right? But it was my understanding that this was always going to be rental. It was never going to be. I have a concern about the verbiage. When we get to talking about brass tacks and legal notation, I just want to make sure that it's known that this is a rental property forever in Deltona, because that's what we're approving it for. I just don't want there to be any misunderstanding between what that is about.
It will remain what is known as a build-to-rent project, mm-hmm. as long as the city commission wants it to be. Because any change will need to come back through the major PUD amendment and will require appropriate vetting with the Planning and Zoning Board and the City Commission.
So, and I guess I just want to clarify with legal too, like with that open-ended like that, is there, and I guess the applicant can address that. When we talk about the intended nature of what we're approving, this to me seems open-ended, but I just want to make sure.
Yeah, this is part of the due process. Applicants have the ability to come in and make requests for zoning amendments or zoning changes. Basically, the language in the DA memorializes that requirement. And again, it would be a decision of the city commission if they were willing to forego the tax-based benefits associated with this project and let it convert to a fee simple type of ownership.
Okay, and my last question, Ron, or comment, is that I still have issues with the school, the educational concurrency. I will always have, that's not your issue, but as we move forward, as our building department moves forward, I just wish that we would be more invested, the city would be more invested in talking about those concurrency issues. As we see here, that one of the schools is over capacity at this juncture, even without a formula that includes the teacher shortage, okay? And so now we're talking about switching from one school to the other. We don't have concurrency. That's my belief based on the SOAR model that we have right now for them to do that. So as in every development, that's just for the developer and applicant. Please know that. That is always my concern. It's always going to be brought up until the school district and the state changes the model for figuring out concurrency. We are over capacity in all of our schools based on a real model, which would include the teacher shortage. So I'm just have to bang that home on the record every single time I speak about this, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Duly noted.
Thank you, Commissioner McCool. Now Commissioner Villa-Vasquez, and then Commissioner Jody Lee.
Thank you, Mayor. Ron, is this, I forgot, is this going to be an HOA, or they're going to have their own managing office on site?
Yeah, this will be a highly managed project or community or neighborhood, and the owner developer will be responsible for a management company to oversee the operations of this facility. I imagine it would involve anything from leasing to mowing the grass.
Okay, so there will be an office on site?
I believe that would be, yes, I believe that to be the case, but I'm going to let the applicant verify that.
Okay, they're shaking their head yes.
I guess the answer is yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Villa-Vasquez. Commissioner Jody Lee, and then Commissioner Burbank.
What's the time frame do they have now from the time they start building this to the completion of the construction? Is there a time, any roundabout?
I'm going to defer that to the applicant when they come up to speak, sir.
Is there anything that they have with the city so this ain't going to turn into all Section 8 housing projects? Is there anything?
This has been represented as a market rate project.
Right. I know it's been represented.
Right.
Is there anything that's going to prevent it?
I don't know if there's anything that can prevent that from happening. Understanding how these voucher systems work. The intent of the voucher system is to facilitate a range of housing choice for those that meet the means based for that type of assistance.
He's itching.
I can help. Yeah.
This is an interesting question. It's a market-based project. It's a market-based loans. Section 8 basically gets the ability to do Section 8 by borrowing under federal requirements. I don't believe, and your city attorney will have to tell you this, I don't believe it's appropriate for us to put a provision in that indicates this cannot be Section 8 housing,
Right.
because that creates the potential. But I'm telling you right now, and I'm stipulating in front of my client, this is not Section 8 housing. This is a market-based loan. This is market-based rentals. And everything we're doing is market-based. And in fact, the amenities we're putting in here probably would not be allowed in Section 8 housing.
Well, maybe I say, I'm not against, people have to live. I'm not against Section 8.
No, I know. But if
People have to live, and there's different programs. Everybody in life is in different situations. I'm just concerned over the years, and I guess I said that wrong, but I'm worried about how it turns out, because we all know a lot of townhomes and things like that start off as beautiful living accommodations, and what happens years down the road, what they turn into.
And we can talk about that during my time if you'd like to. How's that?
I think it's important to keep in mind we do have architectural standards and some, maintenance standards, and ultimately, it could turn into a code enforcement type of operation out there to, ensure everything was maintained appropriately.
Thank you, Commissioner Jody Lee. Commissioner Burbank?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Paradise, in keeping with a comment I heard earlier from a member of our public, in reading through this, could you please point me to the part of this development agreement that refers to the landscaping standards themselves? Because the only place I can find in here, it says section N2, and I read, it says, landscaping, design, and other elements of the overflow parking shall be addressed during the site plan review process consistent with the land development code. Mrs. Bryan made an excellent point. Can we do things a little differently here and write that into this agreement so that certain, I don't know, so we're going to have a reclaim that's going to be reclaimed with potable water until such time as reclaimed water is available. And so can we, I've seen the development agreements actually specify you can't plant bahia, or you have to plant bahia, or things like that. Can we be a little more specific as to that?
Yeah. If you take a look at page 5, there is some statements about, preserving existing vegetation.
I saw all that, and there was a lot of talk about how you're going to preserve the vegetation when you work around the trail, but other than just saying consistent with the land development code, that just means they're going to be planting so many trees for so many linear feet.
Yeah,
and they're going to be planting sod and bushes based on this, that, and the other, but it's not really spelled out in any way, measure, form that this could actually be a showcase for how to do things per 20th century standards.
Yeah, the perimeter buffers have always, been anticipated that they would be natural vegetation.
Okay.
The scrub vegetation. The interior vegetation, they have the ability to protect and preserve, individual stands of trees. There is, the rest of the site will probably be, sodded and otherwise landscaped, your typical, manicured yard type of arrangement.
Okay, that leaves me wanting, but I'll settle for that. Thank you so much, Mr. Paradise. Thank you, Mayor. I yield.
Thank you, Commissioner Burbank. Mr. Paradise, I actually have some questions as well.
Yes, sir.
Have we figured out the turning lane situation? I know that some of the commissioners have brought it up already as well, but do we have because I think that's something that needs to go in there. For sure, we need a definite answer. I mean, it's in our codes, am I not correct?
Yeah, the only turn lane that is, not yet solved or fully addressed is turn lanes off of Catalina Boulevard, more specifically left and right movements there. And right now, according to 2020 traffic counts, there's over 2,800 trip-ins on that. Again, that's 2020 traffic counts. I think we can anticipate that number may look a little different and probably, be a little bit greater, but, we don't know. In any event, the code requires that anything with, 2,000 trip-ins per day, be afforded a turn lane. What the development agreement sets out is it allows for further study of this area and to determine if the turn lanes are warranted. So, part of that study is going to be traffic counts on that segment of Catalina Boulevard. It also gives the city the ability to go back and revisit this with its own traffic engineer to, provide peer review services to determine the methodology for the traffic study was sound.
So part of my ignorance, we can't determine that with that 2020 study that you just mentioned?
Absence of any other science, the answer would be yes, turn lanes would be required. The applicant wanted the ability to revisit it.
Sure. Here's my concern, right? This project has taken a long time already, per se. Why, if we can already can see that we need a turning lane, why are we trying to kick this down the road? I guess what I'm trying to get to is I would feel more comfortable if we can make sure that this is something that is for sure added instead of waiting for another study to come by and then it doesn't come up to the commission for a vote. That is my concern, because this is a safety issue.
It is, but I appreciate that. The thing is, you only could go with what the law says, and the law says if you meet the 2,000, you are required to do this. I believe you're going to meet the 2,000. We just looked at the initial numbers. The initial numbers are well over 2,000. I'm not concerned you're going to get this. It's going to happen. We just have to go by the legal process. And right now, the legal process is during the site plan review process, we give you the traffic analysis, which we've been working on. It'll show it'll be over 2,000. At that point, we're required to do it.
Sure.
Okay.
And Mr. Paradise, we're doing our own on that as well. We're using our own consultant for that as well?
Yeah, we will have the ability to go out for peer review services. And I think there's a high degree of confidence based on the nods of acknowledgement from their traffic planners that yes, indeed, it's going to trip the threshold and the need for the left and right turn lane movements.
Sure. I have two more questions. So my next one is, I've seen a lot of the concept art and a lot of the concepts that are being put on here. Every single one, everything we're being shown is being put in writing as well, correct?
That is correct. Those elevations that, the intent is to get those in color will be attached as an exhibit to the development agreement and part of that, PUD contract, if you will.
Perfect. My last question, I don't know if this is something Marcia would need to answer or not, but I know Commissioner McCool has brought this up regarding the homes for sure not coming up for sale. Is there nothing that we can put in place in a contract with a specific time frame added that for sure it won't come up to the commission for any type of rezoning or restructuring what they have there now?
I'm going to defer that. I believe that's a due process question. I'm going to refer that to our legal counsel.
So Ms. Siegel, let me explain. So let's say what's stopping them from coming back to the commission a year from now to say we now want to sell these homes, right? Or 2 years from now. Is there something we can put in place that says for a period of this time, there's absolutely no coming to the commission to make that change?
I'm not aware of something exactly like that. I mean, in their document, it's very clear what the city and the applicant's agreeing to. So they can't just one day come and decide they're going to change everything. They would have to go through a process with regard to their development agreement to amend it, or we could go into court and try and enforce what you all have agreed to. So I don't really see anything other than as long as we put as much as what the commission wants with regards to this development in the writing of the development agreement, then we have an enforceable document. Both sides do. And so I think that would prevent that from happening without us having our say. That's the way I would look at it.
Thank you, Ms. Siegel. All right, if there's no other questions now, at this time, we'll go ahead and see the presentation from the applicant.
And while we're waiting to sort this thing, I do want to answer a couple of those questions. So first of all, nothing is in this will allow for this to change over to fee simple. We cannot sell, we can't go into condo, we can't do anything. This is designed as a commercial rental facility. And in fact, don't forget, there'll also be a mortgage on this. And so that mortgage is based on this being a commercial rental facility. So in order to change that, you'd have to change the mortgage, and you'd have to come back to this board and do a full-scale rezoning. And even then, I'm not sure you could meet the criteria in any of your land development codes for that, because it's designed as a...
And I appreciate that. My concern is I don't want to mention the developer, but we have a situation right now where a developer has run out of money.
Yeah.
The development is stale, like it's stuck there, and they're trying to sell it now. And we can never know what happens in the future. None of us have a crystal ball.
No.
I just want to make sure that my residents are being protected and that this commission is taking everything into account before we come for a vote.
As you should.
Yeah.
I mean, but when you're investing $70 to $75 million, you want to make sure everything is done right in the first place.
Sure.
And so as far as changing this out, it's not going to happen. But I understand your concerns. The problem is, as Marsha will probably tell you, is you can't bind the hands of future councils. That's the legal concern. That future council may say, hey, this needs to be single family. They're not going to, but that's the concern, I'm sure.
Understood.
So-
Clerk, can you please restart his clock, and then after you give your presentation, we have Commissioner McCool and then Commissioner Jody Lee.
Great, because I've got other answers to you. All right, so this is just, there we go. All right, so as we indicated, this is the home stretch. We've gone through comp plans, we've gone through designs, we have worked closely with staff. We've worked closely with staff even as far as today, finishing up these tweaks to make sure this was exactly what you wanted on this. And I was instructed to do one thing. Your city manager told me, negotiate with staff, but this has to be a quality project. Everything has to be quality. We have to reflect quality project in this agreement. We have to reflect what we're doing as a quality project. So this, in fact, is a contract. This is a contract between the landowner and the city as to exactly what's going to be there, what the restrictions are, what the requirements are. And I like that. I mean, I like a PUD because of that. As the staff has indicated, this is also consistent with your comprehensive plan. Your comprehensive plan provides for this to be a medium-density residential development. That's what this is. It also, we've been able to incorporate all of the representations that we made during the hearings, all the representations we made to the neighbors, all the representations we made in negotiation with staff. So everything now is tied into that development agreement. You now have that contract. And the last few changes that we worked out today, as a matter of fact, to make sure all the language is correct. Just to let you know, the staff, the terms of what we were doing was this. You told us to go back and do these things. Limit the density to no more than 280 units, which we've done, and describe the unit types, which we've done. We detailed the amenities package that is required in this case. So all the amenities we talked about and how big they are, where they're located, what the elevations are, et cetera, all that is incorporated in here. We've facilitated architectural details and requirements. We have also facilitated some landscape requirements that are not provided for anywhere else, because what you're looking at on this site, because of the concept plan that's part of this, is a perimeter and tree protection areas that are far more than actually required by your land development code. It also details and requires us to deal with native vegetation as we possibly can for using these buffers, as opposed to tearing them out and just replanting them with as code enforced. So there are some requirements that are special to this particular project based on those negotiations. We've defined the entryways and the monumentation. We've the special gates, the buildings, the amenities. We promoted a land use separation, including the buffers and the masonry wall. If you recall, I had to get a special requirement, allowance, a waiver from you to allow for this 8-foot privacy fence, privacy wall, masonry wall between us and the neighbors, and so that's been done. We defined all the transportation improvements, including the access management and the fair share allocations. We're working on the final fair share allocations. That has to be a tripartite agreement for this because Howland, of course, is a county road, so we have to negotiate with the county as to those things. But you'll get an agreement as well, and we have time frames for when that agreement will come back to you. We've determined the appropriate construction development sequencing and the product flexibility. These are the terms that specifically enhance that quality, and these are the things we've talked about, and the staff has indicated. 1, no conversion to single-family residential. I want to make that clear over and over again. This is not going to be converted to single-family residential. No use for short-term rentals. Define and required amenities, architectural standards, lighted and landscaped entryways, and monumentation with ornamental wrought iron or aluminum gates and stone accents. Decorative 8-foot-high masonry wall along the entrance and adjoining the neighbors with cornice-treated columns, stucco, and painted on both sides. No less than 70 townhouses with garages will be in place. No more than 61 bedroom cottages, although there's probably a market for that. We've maximized it at no more than 61 bedrooms. I should point out that, in my way of thinking, 1-bedroom cottages typically do not have school-aged children, so that may be an issue as far as school board, but that's neither here nor there. We are required to put covered parking and built and offered for additional rent for no less than 20% of those cottages. We have the architectural design standards. You see, I'll get to that in a second, but I'm going to show you some things we've worked out as far as architectural design standards for those cottages that I think are more upscale than we had before when you were looking at this. No cookie cutter. No abutting buildings show have the same architectural elevation, so you can't just have a cottage that is the exact same over and over again. This is pursuant to staff recommendations, this facilitates a range of housing options, which is desperately needed in the city because the city predominantly has single-family land use. So this gives you an option and something else. This will expand housing choices within the community and provide housing for the economic development that we're hoping to help spur and continue to spur in Deltona. So these are, if you recall, these are the required amenities that are some of the quality points. The clubhouse, we have a minimum size. The fitness center, we have a requirement for a fitness center. We have a pool, minimum size. We have a barbecue area, business center, fire pit. Playground for kids, we have minimum sizes and requirements. EV charging station, we have requirement for 2 of them. We have a dog park, walking trails, how that's being designed. We have the gated entrances we've talked about, and we have guest parking, of course. The clubhouse we've talked about as far as the renderings, how this will be upscale and consistent with the remainder of the project, how this will look. Amenities, we are showing that we're having high-end finishes within the clubhouse area and within the area that you'll be greeted when you come into lease. We have active living facilities, such as the fitness center, the yoga area, the walking trail, the dog parks, the pool. And again, it's interesting to me because I've been asked to actually speak at a seminar coming soon dealing with build-to-rent projects because they're obviously all of a sudden very popular and they seem like a great idea to a lot of people. And one of the things I think is so important about this as opposed to simple multifamily is this spurs interaction. This spurs a sense of community. People in cottages living next to each other, not on top of each other, and being able to walk up and down the street and see their neighbors and go to the barbecue area and see their neighbors. So that sense of community I think is very important. We've talked about the EV stations. We've talked about the gated community. These are some of the revised concept plans that have been provided to the staff that will be attached. So these show some of the architectural features on these cottages. Again, it's a market-based rent. We're making that representation to you again in public hearing. These are some of the conceptual elevations for the townhouses. Again, every townhouse We'll have a garage. We've talked about the modern kitchens, the spacious, well-designed interiors, the individual private yards, which are something you don't have in apartments. Property management. I want to talk about property management for a second because, as Jody Lee has indicated, the real problem is if you don't maintain a piece of property, it deteriorates. It's that simple. And so having professional property management is very important to us. This is, like I say, a $70 to $75 million investment. We want to make sure that the investment is maintained and enhanced throughout the years. And I gave you examples last time of various other projects in which we had property management, the same property management that we're dealing with, that have maintained these properties for 10, 12, 15 years, and they look like brand new. And so that's the goal as well, because, again, this is a long-term investment. This is not a short-term investment. And so management's very important. We've talked about the fact we've worked with the neighbors in this particular case. I think that's important because our neighbors will actually be our greatest strength in many ways. They're going to be referring people to us probably. But we have the 8-foot decorative privacy wall. We have maintenance of existing vegetation, no access to Catalina through Berry, waste compactors are away from the perimeter, a pool away from the perimeter, 24-hour maintenance contract. That's something I wanted to talk about. Yes, we'll have an office on site, but on top of that, we will also have a 24-hour mechanism for people to contact us in case there's any issues whatsoever. And, of course, lighting remains on site. The restaurant site is not part of this PUD, but in some ways it is because the PUD is required to provide stormwater capacity for that restaurant or commercial site. And that's important as well because our goal is to create this pad-ready site that is easy to go and to be able to market quickly to restaurants as quickly as possible and make it easier for them and to get in and provide the services that are required for this area. We've indicated, we've talked about the fact that this access easement that we have, I can't put a fence along that access easement because it's an access easement, but I can put vegetation and leave the vegetation, native vegetation that's there, so that's what we're going to do. And again, as I indicated, this is a $70 to $75 million project. Our initial estimate is about $900,000 for the rental community tax base. That's all tax bases, the county, everybody else. But that's a lot of money per year. Plus, there's an estimate about $2.85 million in impact fees. Plus, there'll be payment into the sidewalk fund. The easement doesn't allow us enough room to put sidewalks on both sides of that driveway. We're putting it on one side, and so for the other side, we're going to pay into the sidewalk fund. Again, from a standpoint of this is the summary. This allows for a range of housing options. The staff has indicated this is great. The project will result in significant improvement to the local tax base. Per staff, this will be a luxurious, high-quality, functional, and aesthetically appropriate project. Per staff, the project will be a long-term asset to the city. It is consistent with the comprehensive plan, the staff recommendation of approval, and we have a planning board recommendation of approval. And now I'm available for all questions, and I've got my whole group here to help.
Start with Commissioner McCool. And then
Thank
Commissioner
you, Honorable Mayor. I appreciate it. I like the project. I voted yes last time on the project. What I fundamentally have a problem with, and I'm going to go back over it again because 3 commissioners have brought this up, is the verbiage here regarding if there's ever an attempt to sell the units. The legal definition of if is conditional, subject to change, dependent upon granted, based on the occurrence of a future or uncertain event. Mm-hmm. So putting the word if in there, and it was said that we don't want to tie the hands, or we can't tie the hands of future commission.
Yeah.
Okay. We have put an ambiguous verbiage in other elements, building elements before with disastrous results. Okay.
Let's change it. Let's say
perfect.
Let's say there will be the community cannot be sold for single-family residential homes.
Perfect, because here's the thing, it's not my job to protect the future commission. It is my job to vote based on what we have right now, the planning, the layout, and I just want that to be certain.
No problem. The reason the only thing I can't say is that I can't do it in perpetuity, because at some point in the future, 50 years from now, you may want to turn to this into something else. But for right now, I can say, yes, under this zoning, no sale of single-family homes, period.
Okay.
Will that work?
I'm good with that. What I'm not good with legal loopholes when it comes to this commission making its will known. And
No problem.
Okay.
And again, it's our will as well. This is going to make money as a commercial unit.
I like the project. I've been very clear that I like the project. I don't like legal ambiguity.
We'll make that. Is everybody okay with that change?
Okay.
Ron? Okay.
Thank you. I'm good, Honorable.
Thank you, Commissioner McCool. Vice Mayor Bradford?
There's not allowed to be sublease in these either, right?
No. This, as you can imagine, this is like an apartment complex. And we're the people who are in charge of that. And so if nobody's going to be subleasing, is that correct? Right, okay. We're going to be leasing.
Okay. I hereby move to adopt ordinance number 24-2022, amending the official zoning map to rezone 34.83 acres of land from Business Plan Unit Development, BPUD, and Rental Commercial District, C1, to City of Deltona Residential Plan Unit Development, RPUD, a second and final hearing. The interim city manager has the authority to make corrections to Scribner errors and the like.
Second.
Third. We got a motion. We have a motion by Vice Mayor Bradford and a second by Commissioner McCool.
Get you next time.
Before we go to voting, do we need to do public?
Yeah.
Please.
Hey, Joyce.
Okay. Tara D'Erico?
Hey, good evening, everyone. So just a consideration while you ponder your vote. We're going to wait on another traffic study to see if the turn lanes are required. So to our mayor's point, this is a safety issue. And what's nice to have and what's required is different than from what's right to do for the residents. And what I'd like to bring attention to is there's a difference between what's required and what's right for the residents. For too long, Deltona residents have been forced to settle for the minimum requirements. I'd really like to see us change that, and Deltona residents deserve what is right and right for their safety versus what's minimum and what's required. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. D'Erico.
Mayor, that closes public comments.
Okay. This time we're gonna go ahead and go for a vote.
Mr. Mayor, I need to read the ordinance.
Go ahead, Marcia.
Thank you. And then just also a reminder as you vote, please.
Yes.
Okay. Ordinance number 24-2022, an ordinance of the City of Deltona, Florida, amending the official zoning map to rezone plus or minus 34.83 acres of land located at the intersection of Howland Boulevard and Catalina Boulevard from Business Plan Unit Development, BPUD, and Retail Commercial District C1 to City of Deltona Residential Plan Unit Development, RPUD, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Can we call the roll, please?
Commissioner Villa-Vasquez.
I vote yes, it meets all the requirements.
Commissioner Burbank.
Yes.
Reason?
It's timely.
Commissioner Caldwell.
Yes, meets all the requirements.
Commissioner Jody Lee.
Yes. It meets requirements and what our planning is for that area.
Commissioner McCool.
Yes, it meets all requirements.
Vice Mayor Bradford.
Yes, it meets all the requirements of the comprehensive plan and our strategic plan.
Mayor Villa.
Vote yes, because it meets the requirements.
Thank you.
The motion passes 7-0.
And again, I want to thank you and the staff who's put so much time and effort into this. We really appreciate it. And to answer one of your questions, this should be up and running around 18 months. Is that correct? So we'll be moving as fast as we can.
Thank you. This time, we're going to move on to Section 7B, which is Public Hearing Emergency Ordinance Number 02-2023, waiving the enforcement of provisions of the City Code of Ordinances that restrict or limit the use of temporary living arrangements for residents whose properties have been damaged as part of the Hurricane Ian and/or Nicole to reside at their properties in temporary housing, including travel trailers and recreational vehicles. Mr. Paradise?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ron Paradise, City of Deltona Community Services, for the record. Ordinance number 02-2023 is an emergency ordinance to allow temporary residence on developed single-family lots. This ordinance was first heard by the City Commission on January 3rd, 2023, and basically was remanded back to the staff for retooling. The updated ordinance highlights include a general statement referring to all city codes instead of using specific code sites. It limits the scope of the ordinance to 180-day period with a possible extension for another 180 days with cause. It clarifies the temporary living units can only be used to address primary unit damage from the hurricanes and sets parameters for determining hurricane damage, like FEMA assistance and whatnot, and restricts the use of temporary units for only the residents of the damaged property being repaired/remediated. This is an emergency ordinance. It can be enacted by the City Commission on one reading. City staff does recommend that the city approve the ordinance at this hearing. I'd be happy to field any questions you all may have with regard to this.
Thank you, Mr. Paradise. Commissioner Jody Lee and then Commissioner Avila Vasquez.
Well, I guess I'll let Commissioner Maritza go. We went through this very heavily, and it's basically been reworded to exactly what we asked for. So if I was just going to make a motion to approve it and be done with it, because it's exactly what we discussed at the January 3rd meeting. So if I could, I'd like to make a motion to approve, if I can find my paper in front of me, the emergency ordinance number 02-2023, waiving the enforcement provisions of the City Code of Ordinances that restrict or limit the use of temporary living arrangements for residents whose properties have been damaged as part of Hurricane Ian and/or Nicole to reside at their properties in temporary housing, including travel trailers and recreational vehicles.
We have a motion by Commissioner Jody Lee and a second by Vice Mayor Bradford. Commissioner Avila Vasquez, do you still need? No? Do you have any public comments?
No, Mayor.
Okay, this time can we please vote?
Could I please read the ordinance? Thank you. Ordinance number 2-2023, an emergency ordinance of the City of Deltona, Florida, temporarily waiving for up to no more than 2 180-day periods, a total no more than 360 days, enforcement of provisions within the City of Deltona Code of Ordinances that restrict and/or limit the use of temporary living arrangements to allow residents whose properties have suffered damage as a result of Hurricane Ian and/or Hurricane Nicole to reside in temporary living units while repairs are underway, providing for a 180-day extension, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. This time we're going to move to Section 8, which is old business. A, which is review and discussion regarding the executive search firm selection interim city manager. We're going to start with Commissioner Jody Lee and then Commissioner Avila Vasquez.
Well, my comments about the executive search, I mean, this is the point where we're all going to discuss it. I'll give them, I'm against it, and I'll explain. We just did this prior to Mr. Chisholm coming on board. We had applicants that applied for different roles as interim, And some of us, or I have myself, reached out to several people that applied the first time around before my election, and there's some of these people that are still interested in being the city manager of Deltona. I think we should reach out to some of these people that, the names we'd already given, and see if we can find somebody. Instead of spending another $50,000, we have an HR department. We have an HR department that, from what I mean, there's people in the HR department that are making very good money, over $100,000 a year. I think our own HR department should be able to hire, instead of paying an extra $50,000 for an outside search. I mean, that's all our money. It's our city's money. I mean, if the HR department can't do it, maybe we need to find somebody to have a better HR department. I mean, that's my opinion, but to spend another 50 grand for somebody that don't know us, I don't know if anybody remembers. I'm sure there's a few people in this dais that remember. I think this is how we ended up with a past city manager a couple managers ago that caused nothing but chaos in the city. So I think we should kind of rethink this and look at some of the people that have already applied before, have been approved to be on this list that we had.
Thank you, Commissioner Jody Lee, Commissioner Avila Vasquez, and Commissioner Burbank.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with Jody. That's exactly what I have on my paper here. We had great people that we interview for the interim city manager's position. There were, I think, up here at the dais, there were 3 applicants that every prior commissioners that were here agreed on that were excellent. But we also agreed that to pay all that money to have an interim city manager to be moved to the city of Deltona just for a few months just didn't make any sense. But a lot of them did reach out to us. Some of them have reached out to us, as a matter of fact. I think I received 2 emails from some of them. I have forwarded them to the interim city manager. And yeah, of course, you know, if we have the applications already, I know that Joyce, I think you have the questionnaires that we filled out. So I don't know if it calls for a workshop, but if we can get those questionnaires back to the commissioners that were here at that time and maybe share copies with the current new city managers and mayor to see who those applicants were, and we can go from there, and just maybe invite them back for in-person interview instead of going out there and hiring headhunters and pay $50,000, and then we're just going to turn around and go back to these people that we had interviewed already. So I agree with Jody Lee. I don't know if it calls for a workshop or what step goes from here.
Thank you, Commissioner Avila Vasquez. We're going to go to Commissioner Burbank, then Commissioner McCool.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also agree with Commissioner Starozuk and the rest of the commissions that there's no need for this. We have perfectly adequate applicants on file already. I have spoke with some of these gentlemen, and they're still ready to go. And one of them actually made the point that if we do go to a search firm and they send requests for applications out, we're probably going to get the same names again anyway. So let's just get on with it. Let's get some interviews started, and let's get on to the business handle. Let's move forward. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Burbank. Commissioner McCool, and then Vice Mayor Bradford.
This is whatever, but I'm going to ask. We have residents sitting out in the audience right here. I would like you to raise your hand if you would like to go to a national search to find a qualified city manager for us permanently and spend the money. Okay, there you go. And the HR seating a charter officer, HR doesn't seat a charter officer in the name of transparency, but hey, party on, stranger things have happened here. Whatever. This process is so mind-numbing as it is already. So, woohoo. You get what you pay for. You get what you look for. Let's do this again.
Vice Mayor Bradford, and then I have some comments, and then Commissioner Jody Lee the second time.
Marcia brought in a lot of qualified, I believe she worked with the League of Cities to bring, I want to recall, 15 applicants. And of the 15 applicants, as we discussed, we weeded those down. I'm going to say there was probably 4 or 5 qualified candidates. The reason we were able to do that process for an interim city manager is because it was just that. It was an interim city manager. I don't have a problem if we want to say, let's put it out there again and allow the individuals to do it, but it's a different process than doing interviews up there. That's just phase 1. And I know everybody's like, woohoo, let's go. There's more to it. Part of doing this is we can put it out there, get the applicants, get the qualified, we can set the parameters and say, let's say one of them is somebody has to be a city manager for XYZ amount of years, and then we can wean them down. Okay, we can bring them in, but there needs to be a lot more than just hiring somebody like we did an interim city manager. We need to have public input. We need to have the individuals here live and in person to be able to sit in a community forum with the residents and talk to them and go through it. So when we're hiring a city manager, it's a lot different than hiring an interim. So we had qualified individuals, I get that, but I would also like to, I think within a 2-week period, she had 15 applicants. So I don't have a problem waiting a few more weeks to put it back out there, try to see if we can get some more great individuals to apply, go through, start the weeding process, but we need to have it step by step. Let's bring them in. We also, nobody's met with residents. That was a big thing, is our residents wanted to have an opportunity to have a town hall and discuss what they felt was necessary, what they felt we were lacking, and it may be things we're not thinking of. So as I agree, Commissioner Jody Lee, I think we can start there, but there needs to be a lot more to it than, yeah, I like that guy, or girl, let's bring him in. I'd like to see us set up some town hall meetings, get some public input. Those individuals need to be here in person. We need to do interviews with them. And I just think it's a lot more than just what we did this last time around. That's it.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So here's a question that I have. How many city managers have we had in the last couple of years?
413. May I have a point of order, Mayor?
Sure.
You still have commissioners.
I know I was next.
I'm sorry?
I said I was going to speak next, and then I would call Commissioner Jody Lee afterwards, since he's already spoken once. So my question is, we've had several city managers in the past that have served under the pretense of interim. My concern is that and I get the residents want this to get done and over with soon. I understand all that. Believe it or not, I get that. My concern is that we continue to rush this process, and that revolving door is never going to stop of interim city managers or city managers. Can we not think somewhat outside of the box? I agree we don't need to really spend those $50,000. I also agree that we do need to have the residents 100% involved in the process, because they haven't had that probably as much as they should. But can we not look at possibly having Mr. Chisholm, and please forgive me if this sounds a little bit awkward, but hire his replacement? Because in the past we've hired or we've gotten interim city managers and we just throw them in there. Can we not get somebody that he can train, that he can show them what the processes are? We have money that we petitioned from the state. He has a lot of things that are already gears that are moving. If we just hire somebody from the spot with no other experience, what is that going to do to everything we already have in motion? So that is my concern. Can we not have him hire first a deputy city manager that would replace him, and then possibly when that deputy city manager becomes a city manager, then we can again look for another one? Those are just my thoughts. And we'll go to Commissioner Jody Lee and then Commissioner Avila Vasquez.
Well,
Commissioner McCool, I was, when I was saying the HR department find people, I wasn't talking about them hiring a city manager. They could just find us the applicants that we can go through, because I know they can't hire the charter officer. There's part of me, I agree with the mayor. If Mr. Chisholm, if we find one of these people, if we find one of these people that we're happy with, I would like it to happen for our acting city manager to bring him in as an assistant, not necessarily somebody around this area, somebody outside the box that doesn't know everybody around here, that can learn all the people in the city on their own. And that would also give us a chance to, excuse the expression, test drive someone before we gave them a job. I mean, we've brought in people from outside, and that hasn't worked out so well for us in the past. I spoke to a gentleman that was on that list. I mean, he graduated Georgetown University. I mean, he was a lawyer, he was a mayor, he was a city commissioner. I mean, the guys, these are people that are still on the list. I mean, he don't know anybody in Florida. He's not even from the state. So, I mean, I'm all about expanding this list a little bit, but I just think we could do this with our own HR department and find a list of people instead of spending $50,000 of everybody's money. I'd rather give that $50,000 to people that work for the city and try to get our pay raises up to a livable standard around here. Sorry, that's it.
Commissioner Villa-Vasquez.
Thank you, Mayor. So when I made my comment, I specifically said in-person interview, which was to bring them in and have them be interviewed by commissioners. And when I said workshop, that was the idea, to have a workshop so residents can sit and meet with them. We haven't had that, and you're absolutely right. We haven't had a city manager for how long, right? So all these interim city managers were all hired most of the time in an emergency. So there were some qualified, very qualified applicants during the interim city manager search. What I was referring to is the city managers. Some of them were interested, and why not invite them back to be interviewed in person in a workshop where residents can meet them as well, and anybody else that qualifies and fills out the applications. I was just saying that we don't have to go through a headhunter and spend $50,000. They still have to go through HR, and they get hired by commissioners, because the commissioners vote on them, not the interim city manager. So that was just my idea, and a lot of the stuff that was set up here is exactly what I said, maybe in different words. Workshop, have them come in person, have the residents meet them again, because I know a lot of residents saw them on the screen when they were speaking. It was a Zoom interview. Or was it live for the residents? I'm not sure, but I know that it was a Zoom interview. But it was just an idea to throw out there. We know that there are qualified applicants out there. We interview them. A lot of residents, a lot of speakers came up and, said, why didn't we hire them? A lot of former commissioners up here, went down on some of us who voted for Mr. Chisholm because they felt they were more qualified. So yes, that's all I was saying, to bring them in again for the full-time city manager's position and not the interim position, and meet with the residents just like we have done with prior city managers. They have met with the residents one-on-one.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Bradford.
I would like to throw this back at Mr. Chisholm and ask for a workshop. I think we need to, first of all, a couple questions come to mind. What are we looking for? What do we need? We've got a lot of questions that need to be answered. What does our city need? Where are we at? Where do we want to go? So this is not something that I think we're going to get through tonight. I would prefer we do a workshop that we're focused just on this. One of those workshops where we don't have to worry about, I've got a time limit that, I can only spend so many minutes on this. This is serious, and I want to make sure we get it right, because the individual we hire I don't want a city manager that's jumped positions every other year. I don't want a city there's a lot of things that I personally am looking for. And, I've made a promise to the staff that I'm not going to hire a city manager that's a butterfly floating around from location to location. I want a city manager that's ready to plant their wings. They're ready to stay here because staff is the one who has dealt with the turmoil. And we're not going to come up with what do each of us want out of a city manager right now. So I don't know if this is able to, get us a workshop and we can kind of come together on a process, generally what they do have. Like, let's say the headhunter firm has found qualified people, then what? So basically what we're eliminating is the headhunter portion, but what all of us are saying is we still want to go through that interview process and that, hiring process to determine that they fit our needs. And I think for us each to sit down and give our input on what we feel is necessary, that needs to be a part of it when you put it back out to bring in qualified candidates. So my personal opinion is we need to move this over to a workshop, that it's a set aside just for that agenda item.
Mr. Mayor, I've sat here, listened to all of your comments, and it's just wonderful to hear about your concern for our community, because I think, and I almost consider it my community, but I at the same time, I have no intention of being a long-term city manager. I've been doing it 47 years, and I don't think I want to do another 2 or 3 years of that. Sometime I have to enjoy my family, too. But not that I haven't. I do enjoy my family currently, but the process I think you've talked about is one that's very familiar to anyone who's been a city manager any length of time. They know that they have to interview with you, and they should interview with everybody that wants to come to a joint meeting of the community. And it doesn't have to be a formal setting where it's rather to be an informal setting where you really see both sides of the personality. The side that presents to you, and also the side that mingles and can talk to people and get a feel for for the individuals. But more importantly, it is the applicant's opportunity to find out about this community. They're going to do an evaluation of you. They're going to do an evaluation of this community, the people that they see. And I know that we have a variety of individuals with a lot of different personalities in this community, and the deal is to get everybody there, not just a few. But I think that's just as important as the interview. It's the interview with you. In fact, I would suggest, and I'll help set this up because I've been through a couple of these in my time. So I don't think that'll be difficult for me to put together for you. And I don't mean something that's going to take place 2 years from now. No, this is something that I would work on to try to get going just as quick as we sit down and talk briefly about what you're looking for in a manager. And I can share with you what I think you ought to be looking for. And then we can take a look at we can send out the same information to the people that responded the first time. We can send that information out to them. We can also solicit for others. But in any event, we can do a pre-analysis, and probably one of you needs to sit down with us when we do that, because it's not me, it's you and somebody who represents you, that you look at those you really want to bring in. You don't want to bring in 10 people, but you probably do want to bring in 4 or 5 to get a good feel for what's out there. And I think that would be our expense. The city would pay for their hotels, their meals, and their travel. And they're going to bring their wife. They may bring their kids. But that's what you want. If you want somebody to be in this community and live in it, you want them to know what they're getting into when they come in. And that way, you get a good feel for that individual, and the city should prosper as a result of that. Maybe we can get someone that's be here longer than 6 months. Somebody who is really committed or willing to commit to the community. In the end, it comes back to you, the commission.
I'm good with that. That sounds great to me.
So do we need a consensus for a workshop, Mr. Chisholm?
No, sir, we could have a workshop. We'll do it in the next week or so. I'll look at the calendar and see what we can get done.
Would that be-
I don't see any reason to delay this, because I think we need to move forward.
Thank you. Commissioner Burbank, and then we'll...
I may have already had my question answered. Do we need to make a motion on this? Or can we just, okay, we've talked it out? I'm good, thank you.
I think we've had a good discussion. We don't have to have a vote to have a workshop. So and I can move forward with the other part that I discussed as far as the getting together sources that we can seek applicants.
Thank you. Public comment, please.
Albert Bryan, please.
Albert Bryan, Deltona. I'm going to put these up here just in case, because you never know, I might slip up somewhere. Wow. I've been asking for this for 3 years. For 3 flocking years. When we got rid of Jane, I asked for this. When you demoted Cooper, I asked for this. When we got rid of John, I asked for this. I expect that we go out of our way to find a blankety blank blank good manager. Because, you know, it's funny. Somebody asked, I guess that was you, Mr. Mayor, how many we've had. I've been here 30 years. I can honestly tell you, with the interim managers and all the others we've had, I think he's 17 now in 27 years. It's almost like every few years we change over a commission, we change over a manager. What good is that for our community? When you have that much change, you have that many different ideas. There's no consistency. You know, we thought the roads in Deltona were all chopped up. Well, the ideas in Deltona get all chopped up too, because there's absolutely no consistency up there. And it's been showed for the last 27 years. Now let's think about this. We want to bring somebody in here that actually has good ideas, not old ideas. We want people who can actually take the time, listen to the residents, listen to you. Now, I heard something here tonight that I haven't heard in 30 years, that you actually want to get the residents involved. I can honestly say, I've never heard those words up there ever before, ever, especially when it comes to a city manager. The one-on-one that happened with Jane Shine and Mazurek and Novich, oh, no. We don't need that kind of one-on-one. That's what causes problems. I expect y'all to be up here. I expect the other guy sitting down here or the other female down here or whatever. But we as residents need to have at least a couple questions as well. Now, what Heidi did to hire this man here, that you could only ask one question of each candidate, that's such BS. That was a joke. If you're going to do this right. Have your questions already done. I don't care if you set a limit, 10 questions, whatever. But don't say he has to ask the same question of the same 10 people at the same freaking time. That's unprofessional, immature, and flat out childish. You're looking for a professional. Treat it that way. When you go to hire somebody, this manager over here doesn't ask me a question. This manager over here doesn't ask me the same damn question he just asked me. It doesn't work that way. When you go to hire somebody, you want to hire the best you can. In order to do that here, we're the biggest city in Volusia County. I expect a national search. I don't want to go down to Miami and pick up one there, or I don't want to go over to New Orleans, pick up one from there. I want everybody that wants to be a manager to have a choice to come here. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant.
Robert Trombetta, please.
Robert Trombetta, 439 Golden Arm Road, Deltona. I'm a little confused because I think we're conflating two issues. One was Jody and one was Anita's, and I think they're both legitimate issues. But one, Jody's talking about what your pool of candidates is coming from. And in my opinion, you got candidates. You could bring them through a process. If at the end of that process, you're still shaking your head saying, I don't feel like we got it, nothing's stopping you at that point from taking it to the next step, going and say, we didn't get a good enough candidate, let's go out and spend the $50,000. What is going to kill you? It's not going to kill you to save $50,000, maybe find a great candidate. That's the one question, and I think you can basically say, hey, let's go through the process. The other thing is a little bit more concerning, and that's the process of hiring people. And I have to say that it sounds pretty, it doesn't sound very professional, and kind of a little bit disappointing. This is a multi-million-dollar corporation that we're talking about. Any multi-million-dollar corporation would literally have a set standard of how to choose one of your top executives. HR director is one of the most important positions in your organization. And to kind of not have that all set up, the HR position is an important position. They should have that set up. You shouldn't be like guessing and arguing back and forth what questions they ask, et cetera. It should be down on paper. The workshop is great, but you guys got to be careful. You ask one wrong question of one candidate, a stupid question like, do you think you're going to be able to get here from where you live? Well, that can be construed as discriminatory. That little thing. So you got to be careful. You have to have a great HR person. I don't know your HR person, but they should be the one that's on top of this. They should be the one guiding you, telling you exactly what you have to do, setting up this procedure that's tight. This is kind of, I'm kind of surprised because it does seem a little bit like loosey-goosey, to be honest with you. So I would get with your HR person. If it was me, I would get the HR person and said, set up a program. Set up a list of what are the qualifications. Make sure, and I don't know them. You have an MBA, but I don't know all the questions that an HR person should be able to know. Your city commissioner should be able to know. So you literally got to work this all out. In the end, I think you'll find somebody good. Again, do what you do best is to try to make good decisions, try to get a good group of people to choose from, and I trust you, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trombetta.
Okay, that closes public comments.
Thank you. So at this moment, we're going to go ahead and move to new business. A request for consideration of one appointment to the Firefighters Pension Plan Board of Trustees. We have 3 people that applied for the board. Ms. Rafferty, do you bring them up?
Bring them up.
Okay. Okay. Do we have a motion?
I'd like to make
from the dais?
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Robert Lindman to the Firefighter Pensions Plan Board of Trustees.
Nope.
I'll second that.
Vice Mayor?
I was just going to make a motion. It's okay.
Okay, so we have a motion from Commissioner Jody Lee and a second from Commissioner Burbank. Please vote.
You stacked the fucking deck at this juncture.
Motion passes 6-1. This time we're going to go,
I think I requested to speak on this.
you're not on my board.
Okay, go ahead. I don't know what happened. I would just like to point this out. While we are asking to put somebody on the firefighter pension board, we already have firefighter or firefighter experience, and I'm just putting this, I've already been voted, but I'm bringing this to knowledge here. We have somebody qualified on here with experience not related to the firefighters, and to keep above board, if you look at the list of who is already on the firefighter pension board, you have firefighters already represented on the pension board. So to put, that's like putting the fox in the hen house here. And I'm just going to be upfront about that. It's not a popular thought, perhaps, but you go down and you look at someone that has commission experience. They have all kinds of board experience here. I'm just putting it out there. Why bother, right? Why bother? If you're going to stack the firefighter pension board with firefighters, or you're not getting an equal view of what it was. We had Mary that was here before, licensed, so think about what you're doing. It's already been voted on, but I'm bringing that out to the public, that I think it's ridiculous that we didn't even talk about maybe a conflict of interest there. So is there a conflict of interest there? No. Why would there be? A firefighter sitting on the firefighter pension board when there's already some represented. So that's my opinion. It's not popular maybe, but that's the way I feel about it, and I just wanted that on the record.
Thank you, Commissioner McCool. Vice Mayor.
Just going to be the devil's advocate, and I understand because we did already vote. This person's not on Deltona Fire Department. I just want to clarify that, and I understand what you're saying, but it also, on the other side, gives another perspective on the firefighters, perspective. So he's been there, done that. He may bring from the other county, he may, wow, that's not what we have here, or, that's great, or that's not good. I mean, so I see exactly what you're saying, but I think it can be a positive side as well to bring in a different perspective.
Commissioner McCool, and then we'll move on.
To that end, I don't believe that point of view. I respect it, but I don't believe that, because once a firefighter, always a firefighter, and the proclivity is going to be to protect the interest of the firefighters. Sorry, I said it. It's out there. That's going to be the interest, to protect the firefighters and their interest, not the interest of the residents paying or what we're doing. I understand everything about the actuary here, so don't get me wrong. I understand the structure, but I'm telling you what the optics are. I'm telling you how it looks. I'm telling you that it feeds into the continuing issue that we have. I'm just putting it out there. We still don't have do we have a firefighter contract yet? No, we don't have a firefighter contract yet, do we? We've not had a shade meeting, not talked about it, so I'm just putting it out there. I love you, firefighters. This isn't about that. This is about protecting the fiduciary responsibility of our city to our residents, not just set up for firefighters and in favor of firefighters. And to me, this stacks the deck. Sorry, I said it. I stand by what I said.
Thank you.
Thank you. This time we're going to go to Section B. We did. We voted already. Request for consideration of appointments to the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. Same as last time, we'll entertain a motion, and before we vote, if we can have some discussion, that would be great. And we have Commissioner Avila Vasquez.
Excuse me, Mayor, before you begin, may I, please?
Sure.
Can we please take off Marie Salade?
Take her off?
Yes, please.
Okay.
She does not live in the city limits. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Avila Vasquez.
Thank you, Mayor. I was expecting that great form that Ron had put together one time. identifying, the experience of every applicant, but I don't see it out here right now. But I'd like to move to approve Jean Armstrong to the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee with a term to expire on October 5th, 2023. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections to scrivening errors and likes.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Avila-Vasquez and a second by Vice Mayor Bradford. Do we have any other considerations before we move to a vote?
Excuse me, Mayor, I'm sorry, I apologize, but what position are you?
The AHAC.
Yes, but there are 3 positions open. Okay, the first one is a representative of the home building industry. The second one is an employer within the city of Deltona. And the third one is representative of essential services personnel.
Can we get this on the form like we had it last time?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's in the background section, the 3 people that we need.
Yeah, but no, what I think she's saying, and I'm sorry to overtalk you, the last time, because there's with the positions, you've got to have like real estate, you got to have this, you have that, and it broke it down to this person qualified for this, where this person qualified for that, and that person qualified for that. Does this have to be done today, or is that something you can get us the list?
We have a quorum, we can put this off.
Okay. I don't know if they want to wait, she wants to wait on that, because there was a motion made, but.
I'm fine to wait on it. It makes it more easier to identify the qualification of each applicant.
So can we get consensus so we can put this for the next commission meeting?
Yes, sir. Got it here.
Yes.
Okay.
Commissioner Jody Lee? Commissioner Avila-Vasquez?
Yes.
And Commissioner McCool?
Sure.
All right. Let's move forward to Section C, which is consideration of 2 appointments to the Planning and Zoning Board. I believe Commissioner Stephen Caldwell has 1 appointment, and then Commissioner Jody Lee. We'll start with Commissioner Caldwell. I can't hear you. You have to turn on your...
I move to appoint Stoney Sixma.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Caldwell and a second by Tom Burbank. Commissioner Burbank, can we please vote? Passes 7-0.
I want to make a motion to put Captain Ron Gonzalez on.
Got a motion by Commissioner Jody Lee for Captain Ron Gonzalez. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Vice Mayor Bradford. Can we please vote? Motion passes 7-0. All right. Section D, we have consideration of 1 appointment of a city representative to Team Volusia's Executive Board of Directors. Can I get a motion?
I will move to appoint Commissioner Starozuk to that board.
So we have a motion to appoint Commissioner Jody Lee.
Oh, they said who when I said Starozuk? Okay. Commissioner Jody Lee Starozuk to the Team Volusia Executive Committee Board of Directors.
And a second by Vice Mayor Bradford. Please bring up a vote. Motion passes 7-0. All right, do we have any comments on consent items?
No, Mayor.
Okay, consent agenda. The consent agenda contains, all right, so Section 11A, request approval of a contract with OpenGov to purchase OpenGov budgeting and planning software services for creating an American Disability Act compliant budget book and annual comprehensive financial report for a cost of $195,257. And if we can please have Mary from Finance.
Mary Lyson, Finance Department.
The current purchasing policy that we have requires any contracts over $25,000 need consensus approval by the commission. This item was actually the budget amendment was brought to you in December, which was approved. At that time, the contract, we were still working out and negotiating the details with the IT department and the consultants at OpenGov to make sure that our software and our data and all our records are safe. And since then, we've been able to come to a consensus. The city IT department is satisfied that this is a product that is safe for the city, and the finance department is looking forward to using this product for this budget year. I think it's going to provide a lot of flexibility in providing different data, report writing, flexibility, what-if scenarios. It also is, I know you've probably had a chance to review the budget book. It's approaching 300 pages. So to put that together is kind of a long and difficult process at times. Technology is changing daily. This is a product that we believe that's going to increase the speed and the accuracy of putting together the budget book.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Bradford, then Commissioner Burbank.
I have a question, and I'm just a little confused, and Marcia might be able to help clarify this, which I understand what you need the software for, but as far as the verbiage in that, did we hire a consultant? Where's the consultant at on working on our ADA stuff? Mr. Peters, we had hired a consultant, and he was supposed to be assisting with putting stuff together for our ADA. You familiar?
We never hired that consultant, but we have now redone the ADA plan, and we're using a lawyer with experience that represents our carrier that we've used on the ADA complaint, the HUD complaint that was filed against the city. So we actually have now an ADA consultant who has been certified CAT-KIP, and so we're working through this process right now. So in pretty short order, we're going to have a compliant plan that has been reviewed by an outside lawyer with experience. We're going to have a coordinator, and we're going to have the same information in the plan that's going to be on the website. And then we're going to deal with some of our outstanding issues that we have with ADA right now.
Oh, that sounds amazing, because I seriously remember a huge number that was thrown at us to hire a consultant, and the consultant was going to do this and do that, and this seems like we're actually going closer to the correct.
We basically, CAT-KIP, Ron Paradise and I did most of this work, and then we've used this attorney that we have that works for the carrier, not for the city attorney's office, and his review is being paid for by the carrier.
Is it ABM? Which one was also?
No. This is, his name is, what is his name? Dale Scott. Dale Scott is the lawyer, and he is the one that has been handling the complaint that was filed through HUD against us by the gentleman that believed. Okay.
No, I'm talking about the consulting firm that was supposedly hired.
Oh, I see what you're talking about.
So we had hired a consulting firm to go through, and he was supposed to go through parks, he was supposed to go through the fire, all this.
Jim
I mean, we spent a lot of money on that, and I'm just curious, I never ever saw a report on.
We've not received it.
I know we paid him. No, I'm pretty sure we paid him. No?
No, he hasn't paid.
No, we have not paid.
So that money then can be reallocated towards this?
That's possible.
Okay, good.
The contract is ABM, I believe, is a company.
It was ABM.
And he was supposed to have made his submission in September. He missed his date. He did give us a response last week, and we're evaluating whether it meets the test of compliance with the contract we have.
Okay.
So it's, it's unknown about that. But just on the side, I would recommend what she's asking you to approve tonight.
Correct. I move to approve the contract with OpenGov to purchase budgeting and planning software services and financial report software for a total cost of $195,257. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections of Scrivener errors and the like.
Second.
We have a motion by Vice Mayor Bradford and a second by, I believe it was Commissioner Jody Lee. Before we vote, can you read the ordinance, right? No? Sorry. So let's go and vote.
Mr. Mayor, it's a contract.
Okay, so let's go and vote. Motion passes 7-0. Commissioner Burbank, you're on the board. Did you want to make a comment?
No, the horse has left the stable. Thank you, sir.
Right, at this time, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go to City Commission Special Reports and Requests. 12A, request by Mayor Avila to have the DeBerry, Deltona, Orange City, Rotary Club, and Halifax Health make a presentation before the commission at one of the upcoming city commission meetings. So essentially, I'm asking for consensus from the dais. I know Halifax Health wants to update the commission on some of the services that they now offer that they didn't offer when they first made the presentation to us. And then the Rotary Club, Ms. Northey asked if they can come and also do the same and make a presentation. They don't have to be the same commission meeting, but if I can get consensus from the dais, I would really appreciate it.
Got it with me.
Commissioner Caldwell, Commissioner Avila-Vasquez, Commissioner Tom Burbank.
If possible, Mr. Mayor, I would like to add the YMCA to that list of possible vendors.
I think that has to be added to.
Yes, added to your list. Halifax Health, YMCA, plus yours. They do offer a lot of programs, and that is a constantly moving target, and I'd like to have them come in and just introduce themselves to all of us and do what you would ask everyone else to do. Thank you.
Commissioner McCool? Sure. Vice Mayor Bradford?
And I also think if we do this, which I think it's great that we do have our city partners come up and give us presentations. We also have another health partner in the city that has a lot, and that's Advent. So Advent also has their emergency room and medical plazas. So that would be great to have them included as well, since they did contribute as well.
Not on the same night, I hope.
Sure. Let's look it up. No, not all on the same night.
All right.
Popcorn.
Thank you. So Section 13, City Attorney comments. Oh. Go ahead, Commissioner Avila-Vasquez.
Thank you, Mayor. So I put a copy on everyone's table there. The Landmark Lodge is having another free pancake day, and they sent their flyer. They requested if the city can please share it with the residents. It's open to the public. It's free for the public. And so I'm just want a consensus from the dais to give the city manager the go-ahead to announce their free pancake breakfast.
Commissioner Caldwell. Commissioner Jody Lee. Commissioner Burbank.
Yes, sir. 2 announcements I'd like to broadcast.
Wait a minute, you got to vote on mine first.
One at a time, Commissioner.
Can we get through the vote?
Commissioner McCool.
That would be fantastic, and if we could get it on the city website also, that would be fantastic.
Vice Mayor Bradford. And I'm a yes as well. Then we have Commissioner Jody Lee, and then Commissioner Burbank. I'll come to you.
Oh, it's my turn. You guys ready?
Oh, Lord.
Oh, boy.
Okay, I got a couple little comments, and I'll try to make them quick, as long as somebody.
Well, this is not commissioner comments.
Oh,
These are
okay,
special
I'll wait a
requests.
minute. You guys can all catch your breath between now and then.
Okay. Commissioner Burbank.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, so city attorney comments. City manager comments?
Just briefly, I think I provided a copy to you of the presentation we made to the legislative delegation, and if not, let me know and I'll be sure I get you a copy. We requested about $115 million worth of projects. I doubt that those are all going to get in one check, maybe two. But in any event, we are putting together a more approvable approach. That was just the total value of the package we see is necessary at this time, but we'll also refine that down to something we think that we can get funded.
Thank you, City Manager. Now we're going to City Commission comments, and I'll start with Commissioner Burbank, and I'll work my way to the other end.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the 18th of February, the Enterprise Historical Society is holding their annual chili cook-off. This year's entertainment will be Gene Gizzi, and it is a hoot. Try to get there. On the 2nd of February, I'll be holding a town hall in the Harris-Saxon Community Center on 7 o'clock for District 1, but everybody is invited. Thank you.
Commissioner Dana McCool.
Thank you, and I would like to reiterate city manager comments regarding the ask from the state for funding. I know that, and this is not a plug, so I'm just passing on information, that when I just had State Representative on our podcast, and we talked about that big ask for that outfall study money, and so I'm hoping with so much comment getting made about that does happen for us, because we do need that outfall study. If residents don't know about that, we need to have the study done so that we can help direct water away from our vulnerable areas. And if you have any time, write your state representative, write your legislators, because when they hear from residents, when we're making the ask for that and we show up as a united delegation as far as the city goes, they listen, right? So support your city, get us that money. The ask is for $600,000. Also, I wanted to ask the legal, do we have any, or the city manager, I'm sorry, if we have ADA complaints right now at hand, do we have any ADA legal complaints right now?
Yeah, you may know that. I don't know. I don't think we have any.
We have one.
One party for ADA complaints?
Yes, ma'am.
Take that in, people. Let's take that in right there also. And I would like to ask also about the firefighter contract. I know that we should be having a shade meeting very soon on that. Yes? Yes, we will. How soon is soon?
Our attorney got sick, so I'm going to try to schedule around that schedule there.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner Avila Vasquez.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to piggyback on the city manager's comments on the legislature meeting. It was a very nice meeting. I want to thank Glenn and our lobbyist Georgia for being there and representing the city of Deltona. I also attended with the rest of the commissioners the MLK breakfast, actually luncheon, and it was sold out. It was very nice. And there is Rotary is having the Hops and Vines event January 20. There's tickets available if anybody wants to go. It's a really nice event, and it's being held at the center. You can get a hold of, actually, I think Pat Northey has tickets for it. And thank everyone for coming out.
Thank you, Commissioner Jody Lee.
My turn. Okay, where do I start on this?
Should I skip you?
Okay. One thing I want to talk, there's a couple things I want to mention, talk about. I would like the city manager to look into something. I understand we have somebody that I know we can't direct staff, we can't do all this, but I want to say it in front of everybody here and everybody can hear me. I know we do have a city employee that from the last city manager went from $60,000 a year to $120-something thousand for a pay raise. I think that's a little excessive a pay raise. I wish we could find out and get to the bottom of it and make sure this person's is worth the $120,000 or $60,000 pay raise. That's a little extravagant in my book. I don't know about anybody else, but there's a part about stuff in the city. Our hiring, we're short in a lot of departments in our city, and I'm wondering if the city manager can get down to why it takes 2-3 months to hire somebody in this city. I think that's another part that's a little bit insane. That's taking, we're losing employees. They're going to work. By the time our HR has got them qualified, they're already working in another city somewhere, so that's kind of a moot point to spend even more money when they're already working somewhere else. So that's one of the things. There's another thing. I've been watching city vehicles stop at any gas station they want in town and get gas. I don't know if anybody's realized, but if you're getting gas in your own car, you go find a gas station that's cheaper. I just watched a guy pull up at one. There's a gas station. It's $3.39. He's filling up the city vehicle right down the street by the plaza where I'm at. It's $2.98, and he's up there at $3.39 because they got city credit cards. We need to do something about that. Buy it in bulk. I mean, we can get bulk fuel as a cheap rate, or we can. I mean, we're going to get deals with buying it bulk. I don't think there's any reason why we can't have a bulk tank and people can get there. We could take some of these city credit cards and put them in the trash can because we're paying for all these cards, and people paying with city money aren't really caring about what they're paying for gas. And I'm sorry, it's a little insane for us to continue to allow stuff like that happen. You find a cheap gas station to go to, so should they, but it's not their money. So another one is I found out, I was looking in the city, I guess there's only trackers on code enforcement vehicles, and I'd like to see if we can see some of these things on what these guys are doing, because I have a couple code enforcement guys that sit in my plaza and sleep for half a day. So I'd like to know why there's not trackers on all the city vehicles, because we can see how they're driving, and if they're being monitored to see if they're driving like maniacs out there, they're speeding, they're driving like idiots. I mean, we should know this. I mean, I can see it for myself. If I can see it, I'm sure other people do it, and for some reason nobody ever says anything. Well, I think I'm tired of being quiet, but I'm sure I'll find more by the next meeting, but I guess that's about all for now.
Commissioner Caldwell. Vice Mayor Bradford.
Okay, a couple of things. I had an individual that's not my district, but I happened to be at the home, and he showed me the major corrosion on Lake Teresa. I just want to make sure that, we're getting that addressed. I want to thank you for taking the time and going through and getting to the state the money that we need. Like you're saying, it's not an assurance that we're going to get it, but anything is better than nothing. Also have had a overwhelming amount of individuals talking about the FEMA Center and how awesome it is to have them in the city. And like I said, the last meeting, there was individuals who were denied that went back and reapplied and have been, working on getting approved. So you still have time for Hurricane Nicole. I really encourage anybody who can to go to the center between 9 and 6. They're there as a resource. Use them. They're great. They have helped so many individuals, I can't even tell you, to get through this process, and it's a horrible process. So use this resource. It's there. Worst case they can say is no, or they can help you to the next step. So also had a phone call today from a resident voicing major concerns of Howland Boulevard. We all know that's the worst road, supposedly, traffic in the city as far as accidents go. I give kudos to the sheriff for the increased patrol. But they wanted to know as well, what were we looking at in the future for the safety of people crossing. You know, there's still a grave concern of Howland and the Graves area down there with all the plazas and new development going in, getting from one side to the next, and they just don't feel safe with just a crosswalk. That traffic's crazy. So I think that's something we seriously have to look at is, you know, crossing the street in those areas. Another thing, and I think I brought it up to you, but I'm bringing it up again, is we put an ordinance in place for panhandlers, and I'm seeing a bunch again. So it's like if we don't continually enforce it, it starts to happen. You know, I noticed on Howland, up at the corner again of Halifax Crossing in Howland, they love to stand there in the center, and that's not, they've only got like 1.5 feet, 2 foot. And then when they're leaving, they're taking their trash and they're shoving it in the center by the sign and just leaving it. And then today, when I was down at the Walmart, there's individuals down there panhandling right on the corner. So we specifically put this ordinance in place that I'm hoping we can remind the sheriffs to enforce this. I don't want to sound like a mean person, but it needs to be addressed. Thank you, guys. Have a great week. Okay, Jody did it.
So four things tomorrow. Am I correct, Mr. Chisholm? We have a Q&A with FEMA, or FEMA's doing a Q&A tomorrow, Thursday?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So if the residents, I'm sure there's going to be something on our website and on social media. Take advantage of that. That's a perfect time to go and ask questions. Again, like the Vice Mayor said, even if you were declined in the past, you still have a good opportunity. Mr. Chisholm, I have one small minor issue, and I know, you know, I can't direct staff. I've had several residents call me to tell me that code enforcement has been by their house at my request to enforce their properties. I think I brought this up to you one time before, and one of them says that they have video of the lady code enforcement officer saying that I specifically am asking for the residents to be code enforced. That needs to be stopped. It is not truthful and is wrong. So please, if we can please address that, I would greatly appreciate it. And I understand there's some relationships there. It is what it is. We need that to stop. I have some concerns with our building department. They're very short-staffed, and they're doing an amazing job as it is, but I mean, I know you can't make the situation any quicker, but to Jody Lee's point, we need to kind of streamline that process. And the final thing is, at some point, we have a new commission. I think we really need to look at redoing our land development code. I think it's outdated. I think it needs to be done. As a matter of fact, I think we're due now to redo some of our old other codes and stuff like that. This should probably get done before we do that. So I know that's probably a workshop or something. I'll leave it at your discretion and at the discretion of the other commissioners if they're okay with it. So that's all I have. I wish everyone a great week, and don't forget about tomorrow's FEMA meeting. This meeting's adjourned.